Story begins at the end of 2007 when the war in Iraq was about to end, repeating the old mistakes. The part's work is in progress. 6 construction workers from the United States were dispatched to lay oil pipelines in the desert, but were targeted by unknown gunmen. They called for a security team before their death. However, 2 members of the guard were also rejected after giving thanks. Go and kill him. The US military base sent out snipers. They were the male lead and Matthew, with the male lead as the observer and Matthew responsible for sniping. The 2 did not act rashly after giving thanks, but hid in the bushes to scout. They suspected that the gunman might be hiding behind a wall. However, there was no movement for 18 successive hours. Matthew believes that the gunman might have died long ago. However, the male lead felt something's off, because there seemed to be only 1 body lying there out of the 8. The last sentence is not by the mob. From this, it can be deduced that the gunman most likely took them out within 30 seconds. This guy must be a pro. Some time has passed and Matthew can't stand it anymore. He believes that there definitely isn't anyone behind that wall. No gunman could hide for such a long time on a hot day. Matthew got up directly and wanted to get the radio to complete this task as quickly as possible. There was indeed no one behind that wall, but Matthew felt something was wrong, because he saw that in fact, all 8 were headshot. The protagonist quickly asked him to withdraw, but it was too late. The gunman directly hit Matthew's stomach, and Matthew fell on the spot. Nanjo didn't care either, immediately packed up the equipment and rushed over. The gunman fired 5 shots during the process. One of the bullets hit the man's leg. He also fell to the ground. Pulling out Matthew was impossible. The man could only hide behind the wall. Because his knee was shattered by the gunman, he was bleeding profusely. The leading man had no choice but to tighten the bandage on his thigh. Then he pulled out the radio and tried to call. Unfortunately, in the just concluded gun battle, the gunman also hit the radio equipment. Now it's over. The protagonist told Matthew about this, and Matthew is ready to let go. But the protagonist told Matthew not to act rashly, as the gunman could easily take him down. Next, the leading man pulled out the stone wall, prepared to set up the telescope, and observe the gunman's position. As a result, during the process, the stone wall collapsed, and unfortunately, the leading man hurt his finger, which made him yell. Luckily, he finally escaped from a hole. However, at this moment, Matthew lost his voice. Back then, no response after shouting several times, and his own thigh was still bleeding, exposing the wound. Like this wasn't a solution, the male lead had to endure the pain and take a bite. He dug out the bullet with a knife, then scooped out the wound with a bandage, and the extremely exhausted him simply passed out. Fardy pass. After a while, the main character is very excited, immediately explained the situation, and called for a rescue helicopter, but the other party asked him to stand up and fire a gun to determine his position. The main character feels uncomfortable, because as soon as he stood up, the gunman would also lock his position, right next to the swimming pool. The other party actually mentioned the word loyalty oath. Due to the differences in pronunciation between the East and the West, the main man realized that this guy is not American at all, and the other party, seeing that they couldn't hide it anymore, also directly admitted that they were the gunmen. Very angry, the gunman wants to have a frank chat with the male lead. She says she is a civilian from Iraq. The residents didn't believe it. How could a civilian be so powerful? While speaking, the protagonist took advantage of the gunshot to calculate the position of the gunman. From the current point of view, his hiding place should be near the container hut. At this time, the South Zone also discovered a barrel behind which a person had died. There is a wireless chain next to this guy. The protagonist quickly crawled to the stone door. He wanted to use the stick to pull the wireless chain over, but the stick didn't work. The man pulled out his water bottle wanting to drink, but the bottle was also shattered. The gunman told the man that he shattered the bottle on purpose. The man refused to believe. He thought the gunman couldn't possibly shatter the bottle. And then the gunman mentioned the man's broken radio and injured knee. Obviously, it was he who purposely got injured. The gunman also said no matter how the leading man stopped bleeding, he couldn't hold on until it got dark. Then the leading man realized he encountered the gunman. This guy is Zhuge Liang, who had killed 35 soldiers before. Nickname Angel of Death. Fortunately, at this time, the gunman exposed a flaw. From the crackling sound from the walkie-talkie, the man heard that this guy must be hiding next to the garbage dump by the cabin. The man used the gun handle to prop up his hat and extended it outside the wall, trying to get the right-hand gunman to shoot to confirm his identity. However, the cunning gunman didn't fall for it at all, and the hat unfortunately fell behind the wall, which was very difficult. Just in time. A storm broke out on the side of the mountain. The male lead uses this as cover, risks going to the back of the oil barrel, tries to get the team's radio, but when he arrives, he is shocked to find that this dead team member was with his own teammates. The man didn't care anymore, picked up his backpack and radio, and returned to the stone door. In the process, the gunman hit the door frame, and then got shot in the knee. It directly blasted half of the wall. The young master struggled to run another there. Wall, he quickly opened his teammate's backpack and drank a cup of alcohol. However, when checking the radio, it was discovered that this radio was not just a radio, but also a radio. And just now, Zhang Shou smashed the male lead's telescope. This guy is too powerful. Just when the male lead was at a loss, Matthew woke up and signaled the male lead. The male lead was very happy and told him all about the gunman hiding in the garbage. Matthew moves bit by bit. Under the cover of a sandstorm, he finally got the sniper rifle. However, when the main character was talking to Matthew, he forgot to turn off the walkie-talkie, leaving the main character flustered. The gunman heard the noise, and the protagonist immediately shouted to change the subject. Fired a gun from Wuhan towards the wall. At the same time, Matthew also set up a sniper rifle and opened 4 doors to the garbage dump. Just as he was reloading, the gunman hit Matthew's shoulder. The protagonist felt something was wrong and quickly told Matthew to crawl over here. The gunman is about to shoot Matthew in the head. Bye-bye. Why are you still here since the war is over? Nanjo thought for a long time and was speechless.
Say who is making an
The
apple?
leader moved and integrated the 2 broken radios, finally hearing the base's sound. But when he called for help, he found that he had no right to speak, and Zhang Shou intercepted the protagonist's signal and started talking with the base. She also called the helicopter for the protagonist. The male lead finally understands everything. It must be like this. The gunman killed 6 builders and disguised himself as a builder. When the guards arrived, he killed them and his own family. He used a disguise call to beckon the 2 leading men. Now the gunman impersonates the leading man to call for more people. The leading man helplessly fell asleep as evening approached. The crow started eating the man's meat and woke up the female lead. Therefore, at the same time, the sound of a helicopter sounded nearby, and the man felt that things were not good. Because as soon as the helicopter lands, the gunman will launch an attack. He quickly used a rope to tie a piece of wood and pulled over Matthew's sniper rifle. After all, the leading man was also a gunman once. After setting up the sniper rifle, the protagonist knocks down the entire wall, kicking up a dust storm nearby. The gunman fires 2 shots at the protagonist. Luckily, he isn't hurt. Nanju took the opportunity to pinpoint the gunman's location and fired the only bullet he had. The gunman was silent, and the male lead stood up. He finally let out his emotions. At the same time, the helicopter flew over. The main character said the gunman was in the garbage heap, but the soldiers didn't listen. They lifted the main character onto the helicopter with a stretcher. However, no sooner had the helicopter taken off than a bullet came flying in, immediately revealing a soldier. The main character screamed, "The gunman is in the garbage heap," but it was too late. The gunman shot the pilot, and the helicopter eventually crashed down. Yesterday, the base called the helicopter pilot, but the gunman once again intercepted the helicopter signals. Clearly, a new round of killing is about to begin. This was released in 2017 and was relatively steady throughout. It's quite thrilling because snipers could take a shot at any time. The wall in the movie is actually an elementary school wall, destroyed by the war. The gunman turned out to be an elementary school teacher. It's clear that not only his shooting skills are good, but also his psychological accuracy. Who could guess this would be the outcome? Don't forget to follow us.